Hi everyone, and welcome along. If you're just joining us, we'll just give it a couple of minutes for people to carry on logging in. If you've joined us already, then please feel free to say hi in the chat box. You may just need to change the drop down to everyone in the meeting. I will just do the same. Cool. So let's just give it another minute or so. But yeah, there. Hi, Mookie in Switzerland. Wherever else you are in the world, feel free to say hi and check in. Someone in Kansas. Let's spot the point on the world. Oh, quite a few Europeans. Annabelle in Barcelona. Hi to you. Just give it a couple more minutes for people to join. Still, I can still see there's people arriving. It literally is just start time. Hi from Connecticut. I'm obviously in the UK again this week, where it's grey and rainy as usual. Hi to Patty in New York, Samir in Brazil. Good morning to you guys, and good afternoon to the rest of you. I don't think there's any good evenings. I haven't seen anyone that far further ahead in time zones yet. Okay, well let's get started. I think that's there's normally a couple more people just log in once we'll start. So yes, welcome along to the Connect Strategy Debrief with myself, Josh Whiten, for the Hilton Hotels Group. You're very welcome if you're joining me for the live session, or if you're watching this on the recording afterwards, or maybe you're going to do both, who knows. So let's get started. As we've just been doing, introducing ourselves, say who you are, where you are in the world, say hi to your fellow students as well. So here's the agenda, pretty usual agenda, same as we've done with the other debriefs. We'll look at a bit of an overview on the Connect strategy. Then look at how the Connect strategy is often used in the travel sector, because it's one of the 5 strategies which is really relevant to travel in many ways, and there's some interesting aspects. I just seen there is someone from Bangkok, so we have managed to cover the other side of the globe in terms of time zones. Hi to Pia in Bangkok. Thanks for joining us. Then we will, we'll look at the Connect strategy and how I think it could apply. Oh, there's Hong Kong. Sorry, I must stop playing this game now. It's distracting. But yeah, hi, and Singapore. Oh, you're all very welcome indeed. Good to see you. So we'll look at the Connect strategy and how it relates to Hilton Hotels and how I think it could be used for them. And then we'll look at your answers to this week's assignment. So let's remind ourselves, it should be still fairly fresh in your memory, as this week's assignment only closed a day or so ago. But let's recap on the Connect strategy. So this is how us as brands and organizations can try and tap into the desire that people have online to connect with each other. And that could be through connecting, but is normally through sharing things that they found and engaging with each other socially. And how can we harness this desire and kind of utilize it, not exploit it, but utilize it to help us in reaching our audiences and with our marketing. This is an important strategy, and it happens more and more because of obviously increased connectivity with our devices. We are always on, or even other devices. We're always connected into the matrix, plugged into it, always connected, and it's become a major pastime of just engaging and connecting with each other socially on using digital tools and channels. And this happens spontaneously because it is so readily and easily available. And again, the other aspect of the Connect strategy is really harnessing the power of conversation in a digital era and on digital channels. So these were some of the specific features that Professor Rogers talked you through and taught you in this module. You know, being able to listen and learn from your audience, you know, listening to what they're talking about. In my world, the company I do a lot of work with, where I am today for e-commerce, we talk about VOC, voice of customer. You may have heard that saying. And listening to that to see what we can learn and how we can maybe launch new products or improve process or service or whatever. Social customer service, this is a really big one for Hilton, as you will have seen, and also in the travel space generally. Any kind of customer, direct to customer type brand has both the challenge and the opportunity of providing customer service on social media in the public eye. Gamifying conversations, is there any opportunity to introduce gamification? Providing forums to your audience to help them come together. You're providing the setting for this to happen, to incubate this connection between your followers. Asking for ideas, adding a layer of value, what metrics of measurement you should look at. And then lastly, what are some of the challenges around the Connect strategy? Because all of these strategies that we're studying, they all have different challenges, and I've tried to be transparent and highlight those as we go through. But Professor Rogers himself talks about these challenges of responding in a good time and responding at scale, dealing with criticism and negative feedback in a public setting, and maintaining respect. Going back to the criticism and the public setting, I heard a lawyer once describe social media, and this was more in the context of people potentially libeling other people, so saying defamatory comments that ends up with that person suing them. And they said, imagine Twitter is exactly the same as standing in the middle of a busy street in the center of town with a loud hailer and shouting whatever it is you're saying for everyone to hear. Just because it's done on a device, people seem to think it's private and not everyone's going to hear it when you say something untruthful, mean or incorrect about someone. So it's always worth remembering that about criticism on social media. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges around it, but this was kind of some of the features of the Connect strategy. Now, I want to sort of, as always, try and apply the theory to both to the travel sector, travel and hospitality sector that Hilton operates in. So I can share some more examples of the Connect strategy in action. I know you all love examples and case studies. I see that every time I run a course. And then I'm going to kind of look at Hilton in particular as well. So I picked some features out, not the whole kind of syllabus of the Connect strategy, but I've picked some features out. And the ones I'm going to talk about are travel conversations on social media. So when and where and how do people talk about their trips and traveling on social media? Social proof in travel, because that's an interesting thing that a lot of travel brands use, particularly the resellers we're aware of in Hilton space, those online travel agents and aggregators. I want to briefly look at the role of social influencers in travel. I know influencers is a really big topic in so many markets now, and kind of maybe warrants at some point as some separate content in itself. But let's look at it in travel and how it works. And lastly, quite a big one as well, how to provide customer service on social media in travel. And again, I'll share some examples of some good and some bad. But let's go back to these travel conversations on social media. If we want to use our Connect strategy to tap into and encourage conversations, we really need to understand when and where those conversations are happening. So, and therefore, when and where they're happening, but also when in the conversation can we intervene? How do we monitor them? How can we step in and use these conversations as part of our Connect strategy? Now, a few years ago, when I worked at my previous agency, we teamed up with a specialist social media agency called Immediate Future. And we produced a white paper together, and we wanted to identify in the travel space, travel and hospitality, what percentage of the social media conversations happen at what stage of the trip. And you can see here, these are the steps in a typical trip, but this is the user journey, the funnel. It's a funnel put on its side to be linear. You start with, that early stage awareness and interest, from I need a holiday to maybe where should I go, what destination to, and then you make a decision on destination. I want to go to this place, and then you've booked your holiday, and then you're on holiday, and then you come home again. That's the user journey. Now, this is the interesting thing that we discovered. This is the percentage of social media conversations spread throughout that journey, okay? So you can see here that far more activity happens, there's far more conversation on social media in the last two stages, when someone's on holiday or when they're back home. But just stop and think for a minute. When does a brand invest all its energy and efforts in the user journey? It's typically over to the left-hand side. Brands are all about building awareness and trying to influence people and get the booking. And once they've got the booking, how much effort do they put in tapping into those conversations? But without realizing that there's so many more conversations they're just ignoring after someone's booked and gone on holiday. And this could apply to lots of other sectors, by the way. This isn't specific to travel as such. It's this post-purchase phase of really understanding that with online conversation. Because it's important to look at, because that 27%, the biggest group who are talking about their travel after they've got back home, are going to influence people back at the start of the funnel, other people who they're connected to. And in fact, in red there, you can see that 37% of people are motivated to make a travel decision based on a customer review. So that's why it's important to also focus energy and effort as a brand in your Connect strategy at the right-hand end of the user journey, as well as the early stages, but being aware that there's not as many conversations in the early stage for you to connect with in the first place. So it's a really interesting piece of learning, this one, and one I always like to share. And as I say, it could be applied to other sectors. Just reinforcing on this point, on the previous slide, the red point, that nearly 40% of people are motivated based on reviews. Just to back that up even further, from other sources, this is from a blogger called Frederick Gonzalo. It's worth checking him out. He's got a really interesting blog. He's a consultant, works in the travel space. But he publishes some really interesting stuff. This is a little bit older, but he says that, nearly a third of US travelers turn to social media to find trip inspiration. So again, that early stage, they're going to be influenced by other people. 40% of UK millennials say that actually they'll consider how Instagrammable a location is when planning their trip. Amazing. And just to back up the right-hand side of the user journey, nearly 3/4 of travelers will be using social media while they're on vacation. And so if you're a travel brand, that's where your Connect strategy could be targeted and focused. Picking up on that point about Instagram, this isn't just about written reviews, sharing photos, we're not just posting text, but sharing images on social. It's the new postcard. Again, this is from Frederick Gonzalo. What are travelers doing on social media while they're on the road? Well, this is the most popular activity. 60% of people traveling on social media are actually sharing photos while they're traveling. And nearly 100% of millennials, amazing stat, nearly 100% of millennials will share photos while they're traveling. So if you're targeting millennials in that younger age group, and you're trying to engage with them and connect with them, whilst they're traveling, images are probably a really good way to do it, and they're what you should be looking for. Hilton have picked up on this. This is a screenshot of an article they published a little while ago, but they produced this content. This was on I think a business website that I discovered it, but it's Hilton's most Instagrammable holiday hotel decor. and activities. And basically what they're saying is they're listing out US-based Hilton hotels that have got the best holiday season, Christmas season decor, if you want to go and take photos for Instagram. So they're almost, you know, I don't know how much more they expanded this idea. You could say, what are the top Hilton hotels around the world for all sorts of types of Instagrammable posts. It's a really interesting idea if you are looking to target that. The Instagram generation, the Instagram users, if they're your target audience. And then this is something from Roomkey, who we mentioned before. Roomkey is a collaboration between Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt, lots of hotel brands. And they produce a website, and then actually they produce regular emails. I signed up to one. And then I get this email as well saying Instagrammable sites you won't want to miss, Insta-worthy travel destinations. So they've built out all sorts of content as well around hotel locations that are Instagrammable to try and kind of exploit this trend. And, you know, it kind of linked to actually, this article was on one of their partner sites, Marriott Bonvoy, you know, and this is about visiting New Orleans and capturing the soul of New Orleans one photo at a time under Insta-inspired travel. So just before we move on, I just noticed a comment on there. Question is, who spends more on a vacation? Is it millennials? And who is looking for millennials recommendations? I mean, that's a really good question, and that is going to vary by brand and by sector within the travel space. And in terms of the spend, I mean, yeah, Patty's added, she believes people aged over 50 may stay away from millennials. I don't know if you mean stay away more than often than millennials and therefore spend more and be more valuable, or want to go somewhere where millennials are not. But we see in the travel space different sort of segmenting and targeting towards. It's a good question. I'm not sure actually how it breaks down by age. Maybe that's something that I need to do a bit more research on in terms of a travel kind of space for business to consumer. Obviously, it's less relevant for business to business. But if for yourselves, you need to think about your brand as ever. It goes back to last week in segmentation. You know, you've got that kind of static segmentation of the age and demographics and location of your audiences, but don't forget about the behavioral segmentation based on how engaged people are as well. And maybe that's more what you should be considering. But anyway, any other comments and questions, do pop them in there and we'll try and cover those as we go. Let's move on to social proof in travel, and this whole concept of kind of using your Connect strategy to drive social proof to add credibility, because as we know from the graph earlier, in travel, lots of people are going to be influenced by what other people are saying. And here's an example from Airbnb, a disruptor in the market. I put red boxes around, and this is from an e-consultancy article about how Airbnb is revolutionizing the travel industry. And you can see user reviews, review stars, review ratings, they're building that into their platform. I'm not sure about something Hilton does with their own hotel results, search results pages within their own website, but Airbnb are obviously looking to be very transparent in sharing this social proof. Booking.com is another example. Again, I've put some red boxes around. Now, Booking.com have a varied reputation. They did get in trouble in Europe a little bit for some kind of sharp practice around claiming, oh, there's only so many hotel rooms left at this rate. And is that actually true or not? And lots of these websites got a warning from European courts to not be sort of making that up. But I think Booking.com are quite widely recognized as being really effective in creating that sense of urgency and using some of these insights from VOC, voice of customer, from the star ratings and review ratings combined with data. There's 2 other people looking at this hotel right now to try and drive people towards conversion. So thirdly, let's look at the role of social influencers. And this is a big topic in travel, obviously. So we'll try and cover this. Before we talk about this, I just want to say, actually, as a bit of recap, social influencers have been active in travel for a long time, well before social media became popular and the idea of the social influencer emerged. In the old days, before the internet, when you had printed press, news media, very often journalists on newspapers would get given free holidays by travel companies, so they would come back and write a review in that newspaper. One could argue that's then emerged into the travel blogger, and now you have a whole generation of people who want to earn a living from travel blogging and have that status, or it could be they just want to fund their travel as much as possible. But again, they'll write about your brand or your destination if you give them a free holiday. And then that's gone a step further now with social media and YouTube and vloggers, with an additional generation now of people online really wanting to kind of, again, get free holidays in order to write about them to their followers. Same thing, different medium. So this is a case study of a brand called Melia Hotels. They're a smaller chain than Hilton. It's a Spanish hotel chain. I always say I don't speak Spanish. I apologize to any Spanish speakers if I've pronounced Melia incorrectly, but that's how I always say it. They've got 350 hotels in 40 countries, so quite good coverage. And this is from an article. I can share the link, and it will be in the deck that we share around as well. But they basically built their digital strategy around working with influencers as their prime approach. So this is an example of a post, for example. This is trying to push their loyalty program, Melia Rewards, a bit like Hilton Honors. They've all got one. We've all got one of these loyalty programs. But basically, they found that social media has been really integral to the success of their digital strategies, because they really picked out and worked with 1,000 influencers. That's a lot of influencers. And when they say work with them, they will be giving them free hotel stays. Okay. Or just more importantly than that, I got the pronunciation of Melia Hotels correct. Thanks, Sharonard. I hope I pronounced your name right as well. I always wondered about that. Yes, they work with 1,000 influencers on social media. And by doing that, they've built this following of 6.5 million fans on social. That's probably gone up since I pulled this together. And now like 15% of their traffic roughly is coming from social media. But digital overall is now 60% of their revenue. That is a lot. That's very high. So it's a nice example of a brand, in this case in travel, working with those influencers, really with a really good connect strategy that actually creeps into collaborate strategy. We talk about these guys again next week a little bit. So it spans both the strategies. It doesn't always work though. Here's a story I like to share. This was a hotel owner in the UK who got so fed up with so-called YouTube influencers flooding his business with bad reviews because he refused to give them free stays at his hotel. And he got so fed up with people asking for a free trip to his hotel, he started saying no. Because he said, I've still got to pay my staff, I've still got to pay to have your room cleaned. It actually costs me money to give you a free stay. And some of these vloggers got upset because he said no, so they went to posting bad reviews about him. And then he hit back. Again, I can share a link to this story, but it does show working with influencers. You know, it's not everyone's strategy, and you do need to handle it carefully. So fourthly and lastly, let's move on to social customer service in travel. This is a big one. And as you will have seen, really important for Hilton. So I found a little while ago a really interesting blog post that was, I'm just moving some things out of the way on my screen, that listed some of the best brands for customer experience and customer service using social media. And I went through and I picked out the ones in the travel space, although it's worth checking the list because it's got all different sectors in there. And actually Delta Airlines, now airlines don't get a great reputation sometimes, but Delta kind of came out top, and this is a little example of a tweet where someone was stuck in an airport just over a year ago, and they're talking to their daughter, and it was hashtag see you soon, hashtag I hope. And Delta picked up on it and said, oh, she's adorable, Andrew. Really sorry to hear about your experience. Please DM us if there's anything we can do. So they're really on it. They're monitoring their brand, looking for mentions and responding in a personal, authentic and credible way. So that's why, and they respond to nearly 30% of all app mentions as well. So they're doing this at scale. And that's what made them sort of rank very highly. Southwest also made this kind of top 10, and they are actually in the number 10 slot. And theirs was more around their speed of response. A little example here, someone just tweeting saying they had a great time on a specific flight, that the crew made them laugh on the flight, and they picked up with personalized response. That's what we like to hear, Kristen. Said the person's name, and could you let us know more so we can give the crew the kudos they deserve? And it's written by Blake, so they said who's written it. So again, nice little example of personalized, good customer service, social customer service in travel. Now it's interesting Southwest Airlines made it to the number 10 slot because one of you in your answers, which I spotted and picked out, found a really bad example from them. And this was just from recently, someone saying, posting a picture of their lack of legroom on a flight. Thanks for the flight at Southwest Air. Had a great time, with a very sarcastic, ironic tweet that they were so cramped. Unfortunately, Southwest's brand monitoring picked up on this, saying, hey, we're happy you enjoyed the extra legroom. We look forward to seeing you again next time. And didn't quite, oh, it was Pamela who shared, I thought I'd credit you. Pamela who found this and shared it. I just wanted to include it because it's kind of the same airline, but two different examples. So it does show doing this kind of stuff at scale is a challenge. And as for context of what's being said online, you can sometimes miss. So yeah, great example. So with those brands, let's put aside that lapse of quality for one moment, and those brands that do it well, how do they compare to Hilton? Well, I think we see, and we saw from answering the question, that those brands, the airlines, they've got a similar sort of very fast response time, but you could argue when they're doing it well, having looked at Hilton, I think they're probably a bit more customized, a bit more personal, and a bit more authentic. And those are all themes which really came through from a lot of your answers to the assignments that we'll kind of run through in a moment. So let's start moving towards the Connect strategy and Hilton Hotels itself, and how the two work together. I picked out some aspects of the strategy and just sort of had a thinking out loud, really, of how well they do or what could they do. So these are kind of other things. These are really suggestions for Hilton, not you guys, but maybe one day they'll listen. So, and on that subject, social listening, are they doing it? Well, are they monitoring customer conversations during arrival and actually during the stay? Going back to the diagram I showed you earlier, there's far more social conversations happening during the stay and after the stay than before the stay. So are Hilton reflecting this in their monitoring and their participation? Are they monitoring not just app mentions of their formal handle, but kind of mentions of Hilton as a keyword itself? Because obviously, that you can't just rely on the app mention. Are they looking for social check-ins at their hotels? So at a local level, are they monitoring on people on Facebook who are checking in saying, I'm in the bar of a Hilton hotel in Manchester, for example? Or are they monitoring check-ins at nearby venues? So if it's a Hilton in Vegas, are they monitoring a great big exhibition that's on next, these big events happen in Vegas, big sort of conferences? Are they monitoring people checking in there and maybe replying and saying, hey, while you're in town, come and have a 2-for-1 on cocktails in our happy hour at the Hilton Hotel Bar or something. I just made that up, but it's, you know, that could be examples of how they could be using social listening. How well are they using social customer service? You know, are they using, for example, remote workers across time zones or local experts ready to help or advise? Just going back to the first point, I booked a flight with United last year, last April, and I went on live chat because that's something maybe we should cover more in the course, but live chat's a great tool in many cases. And the live chat operator, I could just tell from the conversation she was actually based in the UK, which was surprising because everything else with United is very US focused. And it was the evening as well. So they're obviously engaging people, probably home workers, to help handle their social customer service and things like live chat across time zones at a local level. But then, yeah, harnessing their local experts. They've got local experts in every single hotel they own. And are they harnessing this to help or advise people at a local level? And lastly, you know, what about control of their social customer service? Is it all central to maintain standards and be on brand? Or are they delegating this out to hotels or even regional profiles on social media? And then gamifying conversations. As I say, I haven't picked out every part of the Connect strategy, but I just picked out some parts thinking out loud. You know, could you say the Hilton Honors app is an example of gamifying and collecting points and for rewards and that type of thing? And the way they tie up with the app with other complementary brands like airlines or Uber, is that gamification? Could it be gamified? How many hotel reviews can you submit? Could that be gamified? And could you use gamifying or gamification, however you want to call it, to help encourage getting more social proof? Because that's something they want to get more of. So could we make this sort of almost competitive or some reward element for doing that? And then asking for ideas. Are they asking their audience for ideas? Not just about kind of what makes your stay better, because that's going to open up all sorts of criticism, but actually thinking about their segment. We know from past modules and sessions that the business traveler is really important. So are they reaching out to their followings and their audiences saying, tell us what you hate most about business travel and what would make life easier? Or what are your top tips for business travel or dealing with jet lag? Or what are your top local tips? If you've, you know, just visited Denver in Colorado, what did you find were the best bars to visit or best restaurant or top tips for getting from the airport to into the city center and downtown or whatever? So let's pause for a moment for a quick drink and also give you a moment to think about any questions you may have. If you do have a question, pop it in the Q&A box as usual, or in the chat box if that's easier, if you can't find the Q&A. Don't be afraid to ask something, even if you think it's something you should already know or everyone else is going to know and you won't. I guarantee other people will be thinking the same thing. And I'm more than happy to go back over any aspects as well. There'll be another chance at the end if we have time. So if you can't think of anything yet, don't worry, you can pop it in the box as we go through. Okay. So let's have a look here. Let's look at the case study review. Okay. What they're asking here was for you to analyze Hilton's social media presence, could be Facebook, Twitter, website, blog, Reddit, or whatever, and then answer the following questions. What's Hilton doing the first one, what is Hilton doing to stimulate conversations around its product or service? Okay. And as usual, I've collated together over previous runs of this course kind of model or perfect answers to share back with you to try and kind of show you like best practice, and then also update these with new answers I see on each run of the course from you guys to kind of refresh the content. So in general, a lot of people say that their social media platforms allow them to tap into different customer segments according to their journey, and I add in brackets funnel. So going back to our point of thinking about what stage someone is at in the journey. For example, you might have someone called like weekend warriors who can be enticed to book directly and instantly for a weekend stay, or other promotion messages relate to destinations that can be used to push searching for new experience segments. So thinking about different segments and what stage we're at in the journey, and then targeting your social media platforms around those. So that's quite a general answer. This one taps into data and actually comes back to the listen and learn part, because you could answer, in order to stimulate the conversations, they need to understand what people are talking about. And this person found this content that Hilton faced like 1 billion data points daily. So they have a huge amount of presence to process, listening to and service, according to this article on hotelnewsnow.com, and a team of nearly 150 people listening into this. And so their focus is to really understand trends sooner and give hotels data they need in real time to make better business decisions. So that's how it then goes on to not so much stimulate conversation, but more of a commercial benefit. But this is a more common answer. Instagram, lots of you turned to Instagram and said, common answer here, Hilton creates excitement and promotes the brand. In this case, a campaign to crowdsource top urban destinations of social influencers. So bringing the influencers in here, and with a hashtag 7 Urban Wonders of the World. And then they collaborate, which is we'll move on to in next week's strategy, the collaborate strategy. Ran a whole campaign based on this collaboration with influencers on Instagram to stimulate conversation and buzz and interest. So good example there. Lots more common praise for Instagram, a couple more examples. People said exquisite locations around the world. It makes you want to go visit and speak and see more, because pictures speak 1,000 words. So it being image-based is a key point here. Lots of interaction, lots of people sharing their own experiences. This person felt a good example of Connect strategy, therefore. Inspiration and destination type content this time again in Instagram. So thinking earlier on in the funnel again, and asking followers about their plans to visit certain destinations. Again, in Facebook, they posted a quiz, so people can take that and understand the type of vacation they could be looking for and how Hilton can help. So again, using Facebook to stimulate conversations. Moving on to Facebook, a comment here. Now, this is not quite so positive. They found lots of different Facebook profiles. So they are obviously investing lots of effort and lots of different activities with lots of different profiles, but the strategy is more or less the same. And this person felt the strategy wasn't great, but they are making this effort here. And interestingly, they bring up that 99-1 rule that still applies in terms of the amounts of comments that they got, because they got so many followers, but so many few comments and likes. And then let's turn to Twitter. This is a past example. And one of the things Hilton does to stimulate conversation is it put out nice gestures to customers. So they'd say nice things about Hilton on their social channels. So actually, this is linking the physical world with the digital world. The hotels themselves, in one example here of folding out a towel on the bed in an amusing kind of shape, is possibly being done to hope people Instagram about it or tweet about it. The other example is more of an online one. And then we've got Twitter again here. This person said they're using it as well as pictures of beautiful views. And this is a kind of a newer example. They're trying to stimulate interaction. So this example here of a raffle for a fan experience to winner trip. This is around the Grammys, so this is something that Hilton pushed out. This is Hilton Honors, actually. So this is being quite topical, trying to stimulate things. And the same person found another example by trying to do something around like a plan for vacation day as well. And then we've got their blog, and this is where Hilton is also trying to open up a dialogue with customers. Back in 2013, they started a blogger engagement campaign, used a hashtag, rediscover Hilton, etc. So that's an example using the Hilton Suggest Travel blog to stimulate conversations. Then YouTube, and Hilton has kind of been quite slow to embrace YouTube, but as each time I've done this course, I've started to see more and more examples that you guys are finding of them using YouTube. This person said they're using short kind of showcase properties, so potential customers could view it from a special viewpoint. Again, back to the blog, great local content around where to visit, what to do. So not a strong sales pitch, but good kind of destination focused stuff. And then we've got streaming. This is a bit of an older one. This is from an article someone found back in 2015. It's 5 years ago in the digital world, could be a bit out of date because this was talking about them trying to really harness power of like live streaming on Periscope and Meerkat. So I'm not sure how much that still will be a priority, but it's a good example of them making that effort to stimulate interest. Then we move on from then to question B. On a scale of 1 being very poor or 5 to excellent, how do you rate the effectiveness of them using social media for customer support, customer service, and customer relations? Getting back into this topic. No wrong or right answer to this. It's very subjective. You could rate them as good or bad if you argued the case. I'm sharing some common examples that people usually come up with. There's literally too many examples for me to share all of them. So I'm just going to give you a little flavor of the sorts of things people find, because you all find different examples around the world. These are people who felt good, and it's an in-depth answer as well. This person said 5 for effectiveness of customer support through social media because of the average response time and the amount of tweets they answer in an hour, etc., etc. And so the timings and doing it at scale, the amount and the speed of doing it. And they said that's the power of social listening. It helps them really react almost in real time, and then they've combined their social customer support with their call center and their in-app kind of technical support using a tool called Expion. So these are all joined up and they're avoiding silos. So that's a really good example of an in-depth answer of someone who thought that they were doing a good job. But there were more examples as well. Actually, oh, sorry, it's the same one that carried on. It's a quote here from Vanessa San-Diguez, social business lead and strategist for Hilton, about they really wanted to help guests no matter how they come to us, no matter how they want help. Really omni-channel thinking, this is about being there, being present, being consistent. And this is access strategy all over, isn't it? And being there when the customer wants to contact and access them, and they're being there and ready to respond in a joined up approach. Another example of good, and this is a blog post that many of you found at a website called awario.com. So this is a common answer about it's a case study about their social listening. And this person rated them as a 4 based on the Twitter conversations. This one, 4 out of 5. They've looked at TripAdvisor, reviewed over 500 reviews from 6 hotel properties, and they found that the managers were very responsive. Now, this is interesting though, because on TripAdvisor is about one of the only channels where Hilton allows hotel managers to respond. Most of the others are centrally controlled by the brand. So that's quite a key difference there. It's much more done locally on TripAdvisor. Then we start moving into people who didn't think Hilton were doing a good job. 3.5 and a 2, because, you know, on Facebook, both of these actually, interestingly, Facebook, standardized response. Facebook, poor, seems like a selling platform. Facebook again, poor, rate them as a 2. Where they do respond, it's the same response every time and doesn't look genuine, and people have picked up on this. And then we've got part C there. So those were just a few ideas to give you a flavor of the types of responses. You could really kind of argue it however you wanted to. Part C, provide one example of Hilton's response to a complaint and say why it was poor and what harm it could have caused, or if it was excellent, why was it excellent and how does it benefit? Again, no specific kind of best practice answer I can give you here. This is very subjective. All I can share are just some examples, and there's loads of examples you will find, so I can't share all of them, but just to give you an idea of the sorts of things people come up with, have done on previous runs of the course. This was on, I think that's Instagram, isn't it? I think, where someone's mentioned the hotel. And again, this is physical and digital. Someone's done something really lovely in the room, and it's encouraged then social activity. Okay, so that's quite interesting. And this is their comment. Someone posted a picture of some complimentary cupcakes, and they found not only did they do that in reality, and then they responded to it virtually in the digital world as well. And they benefit by engaging the customer to spread positive communication to the current customer, but also for other potential customers to see as well. So pretty solid, good example of an answer there. There's another good one where someone's complaining actually, and recommending others to steer clear of Hilton and the loyalty program. It's sensitive, and so they've managed it in a professional way to resolve it with a DM, and they thought that was a good example of responding. Another one here, another example of that, responding to a complaint. I won't go through the complaint in detail. They get lots of complaints. I don't know, it's something about the hotel industry. People really want to complain, but they do seem to get a lot. And these were examples of where people thought Hilton did this in the poor way. And actually, sorry, this refers to one I've just showed you. It took days to respond, they said. The only action mentioned was to respond by calling the hotel. They should have tried to make more effort to reach out to the person. They should have included more actionable language that indicated they would work to correct the situation, and so on and so forth. And if they'd done that, then they could have shifted this into a positive. So here's another one. This came up several times actually on this set of answers. Quite a few of you found this. It must be a recent one. Someone posted, am I paying for this every night? And a picture that the elevator's out of order. And Hilton did respond, but the person still wasn't very happy, and also said they're trying to help you over on Twitter as well. And he said, well, by the way, your colleagues on Twitter haven't resolved or solved anything. So unsatisfactory and left in an unsatisfactory state. And then going back to TripAdvisor that we talked about earlier, this person looked at it and they found a Hilton hotel in Dubai, and they found they answer every negative comment offering apologies, but they don't really get the feeling that anything's being changed, and it's just a generic answer. And this was another more recent one. They don't seem to follow the hashtags #Hilton sucks and #Hilton stinks on Twitter. Those hashtags are new to me. I haven't had a look at those. We must all have a look. I didn't know they existed, but it must be bad if people have set up a hashtag. And they shared a link as well to a status that was an original plea for Hilton's attention, but sadly no response from the social monitoring team. I mean, some people think for both. Someone said they felt this was a good example of handling both positive and negative feedback they get on social media. So I'm just thinking of timing here. Maybe we'll just try and run through this. So overall, Hilton Hotel summary, the good stuff. Lots of you mentioned responding to customer service on their brand channels quickly and efficiently, and doing this at scale, and doing a reasonable job at inspiring customers and creating excitement, especially on Instagram. Not many of you mentioned opportunities around gamification through the Hilton Honors app, for example, or the use of celebrities. So they didn't really crop up in the answers and normally don't, to be fair. And where we feel Hilton didn't do so well, then the common answers are people saying, you know, the customer responses were too systemized or impersonal, or they're not always managing feedback consistently. A few of you mentioned about this whole central versus local thing that we picked up on with TripAdvisor, and about less usage of social proof. So you guys did well. I'll let you have a look at your names on the screen. And so, sorry, I just really needed, it's an urgent family message. I had to respond. There are minor crisis going on. It's been buzzing away in the background, so apologies about that. So well done if you've got your name on the screen this week. As always, grades are not affected by this. It's just my personal opinion as to who did well and who didn't. So well done if you've got your name on there. A few familiar names. I'm not sure how many of you are Samir, I think, yes, you're on there. Oh, Patty going back saying you mentioned Anna Kendrick. Fair enough, yes, going back to my previous point. And also mentioned about YouTube being, oh, Emily's here, well done, Emily. Yeah, I don't have the full list of participants open, but well done if you're on the live session, or if you're watching this on the recording. Good work. You all did good work. Actually, as I always say, I didn't read anything that I felt was really bad, otherwise we'd reach out to you and tell you. So you all did a good job, but I just picked these ones out as going to go in the extra mile a little bit further. So quick check-in for any questions here. If you've got anything, pop it in the chat or the question box. But in the last 5 minutes or so, let's just have a quick look through the bonus questions. There are 2 of them. Firstly, D, how would your company tap into customer conversations to better connect with them? Few examples here. And this was about social listening, and this is my food sector. And this person said they did a test last autumn, sending a box of chocolates to fashion influencers, and she immediately declared on Instagram that her biggest weakness was chocolate, and posted the box all about the brand in Spain, and all of that for 20 euros plus shipping. That's a good example of a good piece of targeted kind of promotion. Technology. Your team's recently created an ambassador program for ambassadors of technology products and solutions. The ambassadors apply to join, and when accepted, they are part of a broader community of global ambassadors who then share their learnings back out. You know, and they provide the ambassadors with all sorts of benefits, and this way they can build out case studies, success stories, testimonials. And really, I did add a note, this is actually almost drifting more into the collaborate strategy. So worth remembering for next week, you could use this example twice. Health sector. I consider that my company, this is medical devices, could better connect by creating an online blog to listen to proposals and get potential new product ideas or improve current products. In the orthopedic medical device sector, it's especially valuable to listen to the voice of the surgeons, as they have that invaluable experience and insight that they can offer. So then bonus question E. So let's look here. Financial services, and this person said Rakuten Bank launched a new foreign exchange virtual trade app, which is a gamification. Yes, of course. So question E was about gamification. How could you tap into your network using forums, gamification, something like that? So gamification is the answer here, and it simulates currency trading because it's quite a high risk activity and gives them an opportunity to practice currency trading with a virtual trading app, Really great idea. You learn how to trade without risking losing lots of money. So that's quite a good example to share there. B2B, this person said gamification would be perfect for their engineering customers, because their target audience of engineers would love this method. They'd love to take up the challenge and earn points and have a live challenge and find solutions to problems. You know what engineers are like. They want to engineer a solution. But then they are also using a tool for social media syndication that gives you points each time you share and post. Great example of gamification and people seeing themselves on the leaderboard. In the food sector, again, same person that shared before, gamification is an option. They have extreme fans who will do anything to get a reward. So this is actually something they're going to look at internally. And back into health again. This is to provide a platform. So this is almost like providing the forum for key opinion leaders who can open a discussion or the best cases in, say, a stenting procedure, etc. So yeah, that's another good example here. Stimulates peer-to-peer learning for physicians. So it's a nice twist to that one. So that brings us to the end of this week's sessions. I hope you found that useful and interesting. I think every week you get a survey. We're doing it this way. We're testing this approach at the moment, where you get to rate the different sessions that you've done all week. So please do keep an eye out for that and fill that in. It really helps us all. Our next debrief is the same time next Friday at 1300 UTC, and it'll be our last debrief together on the Collaborate strategy that you're just starting to work on. But a quick plug before then, on Thursday, March the 5th, I am running a guest webinar for the whole course, slightly later in the day, 1500 UTC. So not quite such an early start for some of you in the US. And this webinar is all about how to use Google Analytics as a tool to make better sort of business and marketing decisions, getting into all sorts of things like segments and goals. If you're an analytics newbie, don't worry, I run you through some of the basic principles. And also if you're an advanced user, hopefully I share some top tips for you as well. So that's an hour-long webinar on Thursday, March 5th. Hopefully you can make it along to that. And we can start getting in depth about analytics, but don't worry, it's not too nerdy or too technical. So yeah, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to follow up with me directly, or if it's about the course itself. I know a few of you have reached out saying you're struggling a bit and falling behind. Do reach out to program support if you are worried and want some support and reassurance. The recording of this and the slide deck will both be available in Canvas within the next 24 hours or so in the webinars section as usual. So I will just finish up to say thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you found that useful and interesting. Have a great week, and I will catch up with you next week. Thanks everyone, and goodbye.